O'Connell. I'm your college and career counselor. Here's my contact information. Ms. Clemente, if you could, please put that contact information in the chat. So my email is right there. Please don't forget the 2 in my email, since whoever is just plain old J. O'Connell at schools really hates me. It's J. O'Connell 2. And you can text me at 848-218-5754. I will only read and reply during school hours, okay? So if you have like some kind of crisis at 11:59 on a Sunday night, I will not be reading it, nor will I be responding, okay? But I am all yours during school hours. All right. So first thing that I would like my juniors to do is join the Google Classroom for the class of 2026. So this is only for students to join, okay? It's they have to join with their NYC students email. That's the code that they would use to do that. Parents, don't worry, I got you. I also, whatever I post in the classroom, I also will send an email out for the parents as well, okay? Which brings me to parents. If you're not getting my emails, please get on my contact list so you can email me. There it is. Please, when you do that, include your child's first and last name, and also add mailer@naviance.com to your email contacts, okay? Or do that thing where you approve those messages to show up in your inbox rather than in your junk mail. That way you won't miss out on anything that has important deadlines. I send out a lot of email. You probably have started to notice that. If you do receive my emails, I will send out stuff about scholarships, internships, special programs, jobs. As we start to get into the college application process, I'll be emailing you about deadlines. So it's pretty important that you add that to your email contacts. Okay, next order of business. The kids need their own professional email. Very important. When they apply to college, they should not be using their NYC students email, okay? Because first of all, the security settings on the NYC students email are pretty high, and they might screen out some colleges, which would be really a shame. Also, when they graduate, that NYC student's email goes bye-bye. So if they have some kind of contact already with the school, it's better if it's with their own professional email. So your child needs to look at their email and think about whether the email that they made up back in 6th grade still works for them, okay? So an example of a great one would be like Mary Smith 12 2008 at gmail.com, okay? 123 Bobby Lee at gmail.com. Nice and easy. I do like a first name, last name email. That's kind of nice and easy because it's easy to just say to somebody, oh, it's my first name, my last name, 123 at Gmail. All right. And then it's easy for them to type that in. Please make sure you don't have inappropriate emails. Like this was a real one that I've seen many times. SI Big Pimpin 45 at Gmail. Weirdly sexual ones, don't include those. Ones that make you sound kind of not so bright. And if you have an insanely long last name, like this poor child, maybe don't do the whole last name. Maybe shorten the last name so you're not going to be stuck on the phone trying to spell this at people for 10 minutes of your life every single time. Okay. Maybe Miss Mary Waka should shorten her name just for the email to Mary Waka at gmail.com. I'm just saying, okay? Not trying to change her whole life, just trying to shorten it for the email to make things easier. And let this be known, because I have noticed this many times. I don't understand this, but apparently many juniors share their parents' email. I'm here to tell you that is not okay, all right? A student should have their own email. It should not be the same thing as their mom's email. Here's why. Other than it's just weird, okay? A reason would be that, for example, when you apply for financial aid, both the parent and the student need to have separate accounts. They also cannot have the same email when they make those accounts, for the same reason that when they put in their cell phone numbers, they cannot put the same cell phone number in also, okay? So it's really, really important that the child gets their own email. I know that I kept using Gmail as an example. they're not paying me to say this. I just happen to like Gmail. I use it myself. It's free. So there's that. And if the child doesn't want to keep checking multiple emails, there's a way in the settings of Gmail for, for your Gmail to forward emails from one account to another account. So I myself have multiple accounts on Gmail, and I have a whole bunch of them forwarding to one central email so I can see everything in one place, and I don't have to like hopscotch between accounts trying to figure things out. Something else that occurs to me too is now would be a great time to figure out where you're going to save all these passwords. You're going to have so many passwords as you head into the college application process. You need to figure out where you're going to save those. Like taking a photo of them is not going to work. Saving them on your laptop at home is not going to work when you have to come into the college office and show us something on that account. You need to maybe save it in your notes app. Maybe you have a password manager on your phone, somewhere where you can see the password and it's not just stuck on a random piece of paper next to your desktop at home. Okay. Oh, this was another random thing that I couldn't figure out where else to put this in the presentation. I just want to point out that the spring of junior year is a great time to be focusing on saving some money. The cartoon is basically saying that, hey, AP credits, ooh, Amy could probably skip at least one semester of college. And the parents get all excited and they're like, did we just save $20,000? Hey, here's the thing. If you can have college credits, if you can have AP credits, and the college that you enroll at will take them, you literally could save thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay. So for example, we have College Now classes here at Wagner. We do these through Kingsborough Community College, which is part of CUNY. They are free, which is wild. Okay. Your friends who have kids going to private schools, they're not getting these free classes. Your kid is, okay, which is awesome. So basically, the students take a College Now class for a whole semester. They're usually 3 credits, although the class that I teach is a 1-credit class, and the class that Mr. Grippo teaches is a 1-credit class. Regardless, you could take 12 to 15 credits during your high school career. And by the way, 12 to 15 credits is a whole college semester. Now, when you enroll at a college, they bill you every semester. So there's 2 semesters in a year. You would get billed for the fall semester and the spring semester. So picture this. A SUNY college, right? A State University of New York college, like Binghamton or Stony Brook or Albany, Cortland, right? These schools, there's 64 campuses. I'm not naming them all. Oh, look, I'm wearing Oswego tonight. So they cost around $26,000 a year when you factor in the tuition, the room, and the board, right? To live there. Your billed, they cut that in half. So you're billed $13,000 every semester. If your student is waltzing into one of these SUNYs with basically a whole semester's worth of credits, you're saving about $13,000. Okay. Unbelievable. Now, I love APs also. Don't get me wrong. I think AP classes are great. I will point out, though, you only get the credit if the score on the exam is high enough. And it's not easy to get that 4 or 5. So while I love an AP class and I think it's awesome for a kid to challenge themselves, College Now classes are usually way easier to pass and do well in. So I just want to point out that that's a thing. Okay. Mr. Grippo and Ms. Diaz have been sending out messages about College Now like all semester. I think it's still at the beginning of the semester, so it might not be too late to jump in on this. There's a bunch of 0-period classes and there's a handful of classes that are being done after school. So I don't run the program. Please do not contact me. Contact Mr. Grippo. That's his email right there. Okay, so here we go. This is the theme of the night. Everyone has anxiety, right? Everyone's got it. So this is my theme for the night. We're going to try to reduce the anxiety. We're going to just oosha. We're going to like calm it all down. Okay. How do we calm down the anxiety? Well, the way you do it is by knowing what to expect. Knowing what to expect so you can kind of like plan out your figure out your plan of attack so you're not trying to do all the things at the same time, which will make your little brain explode. Okay. I'm not trying to have your brain explode. So this is the timeline. So you can see starting now in the spring, students are going to schedule their appointment with me. It's not mandatory to make an appointment with me, but if they have questions, if they just like know they're going to CSI and that's it, end of story, they don't necessarily have a lot of questions. But if they want to make a whole college list, they want to know their chances of getting into certain programs, certain schools, they want to talk to me about scholarships and aid, and they're not sure about which major, like they're having a full-on crisis meltdown, that would be a great time to make the appointment with me. Okay. April 8th, juniors are going to take their free in-school SAT. We've got the college fair coming up on April 9th. You're going to try to visit some schools during maybe spring break. That would be lovely. It's a great idea to visit a school when you go on vacation, right? If you're going to go on vacation, you're going to go down to Florida, you're going to go visit family in North Carolina, you're going to, I don't know, take a drive upstate. Try to squeeze in a school visit there. And then, you're not trying to like cram them all in at the same time. So now's a good time to start applying for summer jobs and internships and service. Like I know the summer youth employment application is already up. You can go on the Wagner High website to see that. Now you start researching colleges, and in June, not too early, you request your teacher recs. Okay. During the summer, you start to finalize the list. You start to do the applications, which open up in August. All right. Then that brings us over to the fall. In the fall, you're going to follow up with your recommenders. You're going to finalize your essay. And get this, in October and November, the CUNY and SUNY schools offer a couple of weeks where the applications are free for everybody, regardless of income. So if you're like a middle-class family where you make way too much to use a fee waiver, you can save $65 on the CUNY application. And I believe it was 5 SUNYs for free this past year. So each SUNY costs $50 every time you apply. So that saved $250. Everybody can apply for free during that time. All right. So it's great to plan ahead and realize, okay, I have to have everything ready by that time so I can get in on those free applications. And then bonus, because you're applying free and you're applying early, you also tend to find out a little earlier if you got into these schools. Right now, I have all these seniors who missed the boat on the free applications and they're scrambling to apply and they're like wondering why all their friends have gotten into their schools already and they're still waiting around to find out. So don't be those kids. You're also going to start to check into the financial aid requirements for the schools. And then in October is when you would start the FAFSA. And then in the spring, so this time next year, is when the seniors are going to receive their admissions decisions. They're going to look at their aid packages. They're going to weigh their options. And they have until May 1st to enroll. And then we can help you register for classes. Scholarships can happen from this point forward. They can start now, applying now as juniors, and then they'll be way more available as they head into senior year. It's a mistake to wait until the spring of senior year when you've gotten your aid package and you go, oh, wait a second. How am I going to pay for this remaining $10,000 that the school has on my bill? If you had applied for scholarships earlier, you maybe would have some money to pay for that. Okay, so this is the timeline. We're going to keep coming back to this, I promise. I know. I know. Anxiety is my favorite character from Inside Out too. Love anxiety. But also anxiety as a concept, we did, right? No, this was a lot. Don't worry. I'm going to help you break this down. So just work with me on this. Imagine that you're a little bitty frog, teeny tiny. He's on the grass, right? And he's trying to get across this huge pond. He's looking at it. He's like, this is way too overwhelming. I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is too much. Okay. This is basically you at the beginning of your college application journey, right? You were just like, how will all these things get done? I don't know what to do. Well, if you just take it lily pad by lily pad, you will get across the pond. You will do it. People do it every year. You can do it too. And I have been doing this honestly for 20 years. I can help you through this process. I know what I'm doing. If you listen and you follow directions, take your time, you will be able to do this right. Okay. So just, I know it's a corny metaphor, but you can do this. So let's start with scheduling the appointment. Okay. So first thing that a junior is going to do, they want to schedule that appointment, is they're going to go to this website and that'll take you to the college appointment survey. I'm the only person who reads these answers. Okay. So if a kid isn't sure, they can literally be like, I don't know, it's fine. But by filling out the survey in as much detail as possible, it's going to help me to come up with a strategy for getting this kid into school, come up with a college list for the student, come up with a curated list of scholarships based on a whole bunch of things that the student is into, or talents, or situations that the student has in their life. You will be shocked. Like, I have been prepping appointments all week, and I've been averaging about 20 to 25 scholarships per student that I've been prepping, which is a lot. I'm just saying. Okay. So they're going to do the survey. And then at the end, they're going to go ahead and schedule the appointment with the calendar that pops up at the end of the survey. If they don't see that appointment link to schedule the appointment, they can come to the college office and one of my staff can help them with that. Okay. So the next thing is on April 8th, all juniors are scheduled to take a free in-school SAT. All right, so let's talk more about that. So your PSAT scores, if you're curious, they're listed on Naviance in the About Me section. I will talk to you more about Naviance a little bit later in this presentation. It's basically this website that my students use to research colleges, research careers, and research scholarships. When you're a senior, that's where you're going to list your colleges, and that's also how you notify me. And then on my end, my school version of Naviance allows me to send the documents for you to the colleges. Okay. So my office handles all of that stuff, everything related to colleges and scholarships. All right. So free SAT and ACT prep is available in room 273. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm in error here. I think that they're focusing on SAT. So free SAT prep is in room 273 from 2:30 to 4:30 through Tuesday through Thursday. So math is being run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The reading part is being run on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can stop by that room at 2:30 and see, but you can also contact Mrs. Silver, who is the AP who's running that program, and she can see about getting you in. It has limited space, but they're starting like new cohorts all the time. So find out if they have space available. So these are classes that are in person, and for them to be effective, you don't just go like 2 times. You have to go consistently in order to see some kind of result with your SAT score. Okay. Like I said, everyone is scheduled to take that free SAT. There's no like special waiver that you need to do. There's no special paperwork you need to do. Everyone is already registered. You take a second SAT in June only if you've been studying. If you have not been studying, there is no point in taking another one in June, because the standard deviation is 30 to 50 points up or down. So you're not going to see much movement if you take another SAT with like 0 practice. Okay. You would want to maybe consider taking another SAT in perhaps August or October or November. So the results come back in about 8 weeks. They'll be emailed to the student. You can also log into College Board at that point to view your results. And then you would decide when you want to take a second SAT. So like I said, I don't really suggest the June unless you've been studying. The May 3rd, I have crossed out that date because it's way too early. Unless you're like enrolled in a course, an SAT course, it's way too early to take the May 3rd. There's one on August 23rd, which I believe usually it's hard to find a spot for that on Staten Island. Sometimes kids need to go take that in another borough, or I've had some kids take it in New Jersey. September 13th. Now, this is a new date. They haven't offered a September test before. So again, I'm curious which spots on the island are going to be open. It's okay to take the SAT at a different school. As long as when you're filling out the paperwork, you indicate that you attend Wagner High School, the results will come to us still. Okay. So October 4th is another option. November 8th is another option. December is crazy late. Okay. So for those future tests, the student would register themselves on College Board. And again, I am reminding you that you need to record your password somewhere safe. You will need it multiple times. So a lot of people start wondering about whether they should take the SAT versus the ACT. So colleges really don't care which one you send. Every college in the country will accept either one. They genuinely don't care. I would recommend if you do take the test, take both the SAT and the ACT, that you go to convertyourscore.org to see which test has the higher score. So if you plug in your ACT score on that website, or you plug in your SAT score on the website, it'll tell you what the equivalent is for the other test. There are, by the way, though, a whole bunch of colleges that are test optional. Test optional means you're not at a disadvantage if you choose not to send in your SAT score to that school. So a whole bunch of schools have already said if they will stay test optional for your particular class. So I know that all of the CUNY schools are remaining test optional for the class of 2026. So yes, that includes the Macaulay Honors Program at the CUNYs. That also includes Sophie Davis Biomedical at the CUNY as well. Rutgers just announced that they are going to stay test optional for your class. The California state schools have been test optional for many years now. And there's a lot of schools locally that are test optional, and they've been test optional even before the pandemic. So for example, Pace, St. John's in Queens, Wagner College, St. Francis, Marymount Manhattan. These are all examples of private schools that they're test optional. They don't care. You don't have to send them, which is really nice. The website I have there for you, fairtest.org, is a good resource because they have the most up-to-date records on which schools are test optional. I would point out, though, if you're applying for any special programs, like, for example, the physician assistant program at Wagner College, you need to look at the requirements for that particular program because sometimes the college is test optional, like Wagner College, but this special program is not test optional. And the physician assistant program at Wagner College is not test optional. So you need to look at the requirements. You need to see what is the minimum score or the average score that you need to aim for so that you know if you're a viable candidate or not. So how do the colleges actually look at those test scores? So there's no law that says that they have to do this, but almost every college I can think of will super score your scores automatically. So that means if you send multiple SAT scores, like let's say you take it 3 times, they're going to get all of your scores and they're not going to average it. No, what they do is they look at all of them and then they go, oh, here's out of those 3, here's the top math. And out of these 3 English, here's the top English score. And then they put those together. That's the super score. You don't have to tell them to do this. They do it automatically. Okay. You would send, now I don't send your SAT scores for you. You have to send your SAT scores yourself from the College Board website. Do this once you've completed your last SAT. The first 4 score sends are free, and then it's $12 for each school that you're sending it to. Okay. There are quite a few schools down south that have gone back to using the SAT. So please check the testing policy before you spend the money and the time applying to a school. Okay, now it costs money to apply for these tests. So the SAT costs $68. The ACT costs $69. There are fee waivers available for the SAT and ACT if you fit this chart. Okay, we do not use the old metric of do you qualify for free lunch, because guess what? Everybody gets free lunch. So no, I am not giving 750 seniors SAT waivers. It does not work like that. It is income based. So that means if there are, for example, 4 people living in the household, the maximum annual income would be for your class would be for 2024 would be $55,500. I am going to ask you for proof of this. I will ask for the first page of the 1040 form. You can black out the social security numbers. I don't need to see that, but I do need to see how many people live in the house. And then I'm going to look at line 11, which is the adjusted gross income, and I'm going to see if it is higher than the amount that is listed here. Okay. I'm not doing that to be mean. I'm doing that because if you're less than truthful, right, when we're doing the fee waivers, when it comes time to apply for college, the college applications will, the colleges will actually come back at you and say, hey, we got your financial aid. We can see that your taxes show an income that is way higher than what you had led us to believe. So now we're going to ask you for that $50 application fee. So we're not processing your application until you give us that fee. All right. So all you've done by being not truthful is you've delayed the processing of the application, and that's not helpful. Okay. So it's better if you know what's up in front of you, to know the stuff ahead of time, right? Because remember, we're going back to reducing the anxiety. Okay. Moving on. Okay. So another thing that juniors can start doing this spring is to start researching colleges. So during the college application process, it's kind of crazy to me because I feel like you're going to get so much unsolicited advice from people, so much unsolicited advice. Literally everybody who has a kid who's been to college, everybody who's been to college themselves, even if it was like 35 years ago, everyone is going to have an opinion about where your child should apply and where your child should go. All right, which is wild. It is really important that at a certain point you just like kind of smile nicely at them, but you go back home and you think about, okay, what is right for my child? So when you're looking up colleges, you need to look at the admissions requirements. You need to look at their testing policy. You need to look at, what grades and courses are needed. Like no matter what a nice kid you have, if your child hasn't successfully completed trigonometry, they're not going to get into a school that requires trigonometry. Okay, so all you're doing by applying is wasting your time and your money. So you have to look at what's required and then think about, okay, can we fulfill this? But then you also have to look at things like the major that my child wants. Is it offered at the school? So for example, if you want nursing and you're applying to John Jay School of Criminal Justice, you're going to be sorely surprised when you get in and don't have nursing offered as an option. So you have to look at what's offered. You need to think about the distance. So there's a lot to consider when you're looking at colleges. So here's how you get into Naviance, all right? So you're going to go to student.naviance.com. If you've never logged in before, it's your OSIS number for the username. And if you've never logged in before, you're going to click on Forgot Password to send yourself a reset. All right. You're going to look up the college, and you can actually go to admissions and scroll down and see what kind of things are required. You can also, if you scroll further down that page, you can see how many years of science, math, history, foreign language, English are recommended. Okay. So if your child has like 2 years of foreign language, you can see that this would maybe not be the best school for them to apply to. And then you've got the CUNY schools. Okay, so I've been using this term all night. CUNYs include, these are the public colleges that are within the 5 boroughs. So that includes the College of Staten Island, Hunter, Brooklyn, City College, Baruch, John Jay, Queens College, BMCC, Kingsborough. I could go on. So these are low-cost colleges that honestly over 50% of the senior class ends up going to every year. And it's not because they didn't get into other schools. It's just that they're so cost effective. The tuition, yearly tuition is around $7,000. And many of my students will get enough financial aid that that amount is partially and often fully covered by financial aid. So it's such a good deal, especially when you compare it to a school that costs $50,000 a year like Wagner College. So it is important to apply to some CUNYs, even if you think you want to go out of state, even if you think you want to go away to school. Have a couple of these in your back pocket just in case your plans change or you decide you want to save some money. So you can get a really quality education there. And it is very, very important that they apply. So like I said, we're going to be doing those free CUNY application weeks. CUNY hasn't said when they're going to do them for the class of 2026, but they usually end up being like late October, early November. Okay. So with the CUNY schools, the student needs to demonstrate college readiness. So I wrote here that they cannot start college classes until they demonstrate college readiness. That also means that for the more competitive CUNYs, you won't be accepted without college readiness. So that means proficiency in reading, writing, and math. So proficiency would refer to, for English, it would mean that you have at least a 75 or higher on the English Regents. It could also mean that you have a 480 or higher on the reading part of the SAT. Again, the CUNYs are test optional, but you could send your SAT scores if they support your readiness, your college readiness, or you have like high grades in your English classes. For math, the math proficiency rating would be algebra, geometry, trigonometry. Okay, so that's the advanced algebra 2/trigonometry class that a lot of the juniors are taking. The students need to do well in those classes. So not a 60, not a 70. We're talking like in the 80s and higher for them to be accepted to schools like Hunter, City College, Baruch, Brooklyn, John Jay. So how else can you prove math proficiency? If you had a 480 on the math part of the SAT, you could also prove it that way. If you had decent grades, like in the 80s or higher, on the algebra regents, the geometry regents, and maybe at least a 65 on the trig regents, then you would be able to show math proficiency. Okay, so it's kind of important, all right, that you try to do your best on those tests. So something else I am recommending that the juniors do this year is they focus on strengthening their transcript. This is the number one thing that colleges are going to look at is the transcript. So the transcript is not just the last year of junior year. It's going to be your 9th grade fall semester, spring semester, your 10th grade fall and spring, and your junior year fall and spring. Your cumulative average is all 6 terms averaged out. So if you had like a 65 until the end of junior year, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I have an 85, that doesn't mean you have an 85 average now. That means that you've got 65 times 5 plus the 85, average that out, and then you're somewhere in the 70s, okay? So you need to do as well as you possibly can so that you can keep your cumulative average where it needs to be. So as juniors start to talk to their guidance counselors about programming, it's important to think about what their plans are. So for example, if they want to go into healthcare, engineering, or they're looking at competitive schools, they need to aim for 4 years of math and science. If they need to check if their schools require things like 4 years of foreign language or 3 years of lab science, they need to opt for a harder level of course whenever possible. So we don't offer 3-term math anymore. So if they can get into like an honors class, if they've done honors and now they're ready for a scholars level class, hey, if they can go all the way up to advanced placement classes, that shows that they are taking the most challenging courses available. If they can get that those College Now classes, or even pay for those St. John's credits, that will really, really help. So I think it's a mistake to aim for the shortest possible day senior year, because if you can challenge yourself in your classes senior year, then you are showing the schools that you're not afraid of challenging yourself and that you will do well when faced with college classes. Okay, so this is really a thing to consider. If a student needs a little more guidance, they can also get help after school hours with college applications, financial aid, list making, all of this kind of stuff by going to Next Steps Advising. Again, I'm going to send these slides out so you can just click on the link that I'm providing here. This is staffed by Department of Education counselors, and they can assist you after hours. And your parents can be on that call with you as well. You can also sign up for Next Step texts, which will notify you of things like scholarships and special programs. Okay, in June, not March, not April, not May, but June, you are requesting 2 teacher recommendations, juniors. All right, so let's talk about what that's going to look like. So not every school requires them. They are optional for most CUNYs. You don't really need them for CSI or John Jay. Baruch and Hunter like them, but they're optional. Okay, so it is nice if you get them. It's not like the end of the world if you don't have them. Okay, Macaulay Honors requires 2 teacher recommendations. Some scholarships might need them, so it is good to have 2 on file. You're requesting 2 from junior year. I am strongly recommending that you stick with academic subjects unless you are planning on majoring in art, music, dance, or theater. You request them in June. So students, first you go and you talk to your teacher in person. Yes, in real life, you go talk to them. All right. They do not like it when you email them requests. You need to go speak to them, person to person. If they say yes, then you're going to go to the Google form on wagnerhigh.net. Again, you can just click on this link. It'll take you right there. And then you're going to do the link on Naviance for requesting. So let me show you what that looks like. Let me just bounce over to that real fast. So here is my fake student. Okay, so this is me logging into Naviance, the student version, right? It's the OSIS number and then the password. Okay, so this is what the homepage looks like. I have the link for the appointment survey over here also, and the calendar is right here as well. Okay, so we're trying to look for letters of recommendation. So you're going to go up to colleges. You're going to go over here, apply to college, letters of recommendation. And this is after you have talked to the teacher and you filled out the Google form for them, okay? The Google form is basically a brag sheet. It's just like, hey, I took your English class. I really enjoyed it. Here are the projects that I worked on that I was proud of. Here's a challenge that I overcame. These are some of the schools I'm applying to and their deadlines. So you're basically just telling the teacher more about you, and then they can use that information to write your teacher recommendation. Over here, you're basically providing them with a link to upload your letter. So you're going to do add request. You're going to find the teacher. Okay, so it's all done by last name. So let's say you're using Miss Brogan. Okay, you're in the Academy of Finance. You're going to use Miss Brogan as your recommender. Please use general request instead of specific request. Just use general request. Okay, this is going to give me the most, I'm the one who sends the teacher recommendations. So this will give me the most flexibility when I'm trying to figure out where to send which recommendation to send to which college. Okay. You don't get to read your recommendations. So I read them. I make sure that the best recommendation for you is going to go to that college. You can put a little note here and then you hit submit request, and then she's going to get an email that will show her the link to upload her recommendation. Then when you apply to college and I'm sending your documents, I am going to notice, hey, I've got Brogan's recommendation. I am going to go ahead and send this to this college because I know this kid is a finance major, right? So some schools only let me send one recommendation. So in a case like that, if I know what you want to major in, I'm going to look at your 2 recommendations and I'm going to say, okay, which of these is most supportive of this student's future goals? Which of these is going to get the student into this college? Okay. So you need to choose general. Please don't choose specific and then put like 5 zillion schools because it makes it really confusing when we're trying to send the recommendations. All right, let me bop back to the slideshow. Okay, great. Okay, so other recommendation tips. All right, You should follow up with the teachers in person when we get back in September. And do not wait for recommendations or your SAT scores before submitting your applications in the fall. You can submit starting in August. That is when the application period opens up for your class. You will not be able to read your recommendations, and I highly recommend that you don't choose two teachers from the same discipline. So for example, don't choose Mr. Miller and Ms. Morgenstern, both from the Law Institute, if you're pre-law. That's not helpful. All you're doing is basically reiterating the same recommendation. Pick one of those people and then pick another academic class to show that you're not a one-trick pony. Okay. Health and engineering majors are going to need math and science recommendations. Architecture is going to need an art rec and a physics rec. Pay attention to what your teachers say they prefer. So for example, Mr. Sinclair is probably going to tell you that he needs you to take the physics regents. And he's probably going to tell you, I need you to come and meet with me in person to talk about your recommendation before I agree to write it. You need to follow through on what the teachers are telling you they want, okay? They do not have to write you recommendations as part of their job. This is extra on top of their job. So they are helping you and they're not required to do this. So that's how you need to approach the whole thing. Another thing that you can look into as you research is the portfolio requirements for your colleges. If you plan on doing art or design or architecture, you need to look up the portfolio requirements. Even though the application itself is not open for your class yet, the portfolio requirements are usually the same every year. So you can look at the current ones and be pretty sure of what you need going forward. So you can start working on that over the summer instead of waiting till the last minute to cobble something together. If you are a prospective musician, a prospective dancer, a prospective theater major, you need to see, am I going to need an audition? How do they schedule auditions? So it would be really, really smart to keep track of all of this information for the requirements and make yourself like a little spreadsheet using Google Sheets. You could write it out on plain old paper, but put it somewhere so you can look at it and kind of cross off and realize what you need to do next. Okay. We've got the college fair coming up on April 9th, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. That is in the cafeteria. I wrote down that it's in the gyms. Last year we did it in the cafeteria and we mostly used the lobby. So we have quite a few institutions that are going to be there. Over 90 colleges, trade schools, the military, and representatives from different careers are going to be there to meet you. This is a great time to learn more about schools, find out their requirements, and sometimes you can even ask the reps if they have an application fee. And if they say, yeah, you can say, oh, do you have an application fee waiver? Because these are special, like almost like a coupon code that you can get from them that will make the application free for you when you're applying. Okay. So it's one of those things where if you don't ask, you don't get. Not everybody has a fee waiver code, but a lot of them do. And it's really smart to ask. You can register now ahead of time to get a list of the colleges and allow the colleges to contact you. So I do recommend that you register. Again, I will be sending this out so that you can just click on the link and it'll take you right there. Like I said, I think visiting schools is really, really smart to do right now. Don't just wait till the summer. I have students who are telling me, yeah, we haven't visited any schools yet. These are seniors, by the way. We haven't visited any schools yet, but we're just going to wait and see what I get into, and then we're going to go visit some schools. That is a backwards way of doing things. I am here to tell you, okay? It would be so much smarter to have a list of schools, go visit a bunch, visit a small school, visit a big school, visit a school that's in a city. Okay, now visit a school that's in the suburbs, visit a school that's in the country. So you can see what the vibe is at all of these different schools and see where you feel comfortable. You would register for a visit on the school's website, usually on the admissions page. You can you do a scheduled tour, or you could do an open house. Sometimes you can request an interview. You can ask for a fee waiver. You sure can. And you can ask about the requirements. So I think it's very, very smart to visit a bunch of schools now. And then that means that maybe you're not applying to all those schools. Maybe instead of applying to 30 schools, you actually thought about it and you shrunk your list down to 10 because these are schools that you actually could get into, have a chance of being able to afford, and they're close enough for you to go to, and they kind of tick all your boxes. So much smarter to have a shorter list. It's easier to handle the financial aid and handle all of the requirements if it's a shorter list versus let me apply to 30 schools, let me apply to 40 schools. If you do that, it's harder to stay on top of all of the different requirements and financial aid issues. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm not going to tell you no, you can't, but I am going to say I don't think it's easy to do it that way. And this is not a raffle. This is not, hey, the more schools I apply to, the more I'm going to get into them. No, that's not how it works. All right. Oh, this is a little public service announcement for you too. I've been getting a lot of questions about these institutes. So the National Student Leadership Conference and the National Society of High School Scholars, you will see these bumper stickers all over the island, by the way. These are examples of organizations that got your name from a mailing list. They will send invitations out on really pretty paper. And they go to basically all students with a B average or better. They are not that impressive to colleges. Colleges do not care that you spent a bunch of money on going to this leadership conference or signing up for this NSHSS. I would really recommend that you save your money and not bother. This organization at the bottom, by the way, also says that they give out lots of scholarships. In my 20 years of doing this, I have never seen a student win an NSHSS scholarship. You know what actually does impress a college? Let me show you real fast. Oop, let me just move this. If you go to wagnerhigh.net and you go to, whoop, there's the summer youth, there's the info. All right, so I'm on wagnerhigh.net. Go to, it is student life, student activities, National Honor Society. This is more impressive to a college because you actually have to work to get in. Okay. So, National Honor Society, it's a nationwide organization. I have seen people win their scholarships. The earliest you can apply is January of junior year. You need to have a 92 cumulative average overall on your transcript. Ms. DiGisaro would notify you about this. And then you also have to have participated in at least one extracurricular activity or team in the school or community. You also need to show community service, so at least 25 hours of school service and community service outside of school. And then you need to get the signatures of 3 teachers testifying to your character. So this is something that actually is impressive to the colleges because not just any schmo can pay some money and get in. Okay. So it is something that I really think you should look into. All right. Sorry. That's my little public service announcement. Okay. Let me bop back into here. We're almost done. I promise. Okay. Something else that's really good to do is to like the colleges. So follow the colleges on social media to learn more about their programs and see what people are saying about them. I mean, let's face it, it's probably your mom who's going to go on Facebook and follow the college. I understand. But, you know, colleges often have like videos on TikTok showing students giving tours. They'll have like an Instagram account, a Snapchat account, an account on X. So it's worth it to follow the colleges to get to learn more about their vibe. Okay. Another great thing to do right now is to start applying for summer jobs, internships, and service. So these are examples of things that you should not get involved with over the summer, right? Mosquitoes and poison ivy and sunburns and brain freeze and whatever that guy's doing with the pizza in his mouth. What you should do is get involved in a job, doing research, working on your craft, doing community service, taking a College Now class at CSI. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do this summer. So if you are a member of the junior class Google Classroom, you have gotten my my emails about different internships, paid internships, I might add, that are happening this summer, some of which are virtual. You also would have gotten notices from me about science research opportunities and community service. If you join that Google Classroom, you will also be able to see my community service directory, which I have posted in the classwork materials section. That is a directory that I have honed over my 20 years here, with links to like 50 to 60 volunteer opportunities on Staten Island and in New York City, and also virtual. Okay, so don't tell me that you cannot find a place to volunteer. I have you covered. All right, we're almost there, almost there. So lastly, look at the bottom. I want to just mention that you need to think about applying for scholarships. You can start doing this now. So a couple of things to think about for scholarships. The more local the scholarship is, so for example, if it's a Staten Island scholarship or it's a scholarship just for Wagner High School students, it's a smaller applicant pool, so it's easier to win. Make sure you fit the requirements for the scholarships. The rules and the eligibility will be clearly posted. Follow the directions. And for all college aid and scholarship related matters, use my info, not your guidance counselors. Okay, there is my info. Every time you're asked for a recommender's email, use my email, not the recommender. So you can use the teacher's name. So like Lauren Friedman, you can write her name down, but you're going to use my email, not hers. The reason for this is I obsessively check my email. I will see this request. I will send the recommendation on behalf of your teacher. Okay. If you use me as your guidance counselor when you're applying to college and scholarship stuff, if a college needs something, like they're missing a document or they need some kind of paperwork from me, they're going to just contact me directly. If you use your guidance counselor's information, you have to wait for your guidance counselor to notice that they got this request, and then they need to remember to forward it to me, and then I will eventually get it like 3 weeks later, okay? Because guidance counselors are really busy. So I highly recommend you use my information instead of your guidance counselors so that I can send things out on a timely fashion. So scholarship website will provide details about how winners are notified, how funds are dispersed, and what the funds can be used for. So for example, can the scholarship only be used for tuition, or can you also use it for room and board, which is what you call dorming? Okay, so let me just show you what it looks like when you look for a scholarship. So if you go again, I'm on Naviance. Let me go back to the homepage so I can show this to you properly. Okay, so I'm back on Naviance. Go to the colleges tab. And then I have a whole section here on scholarships and money. If you see me for a college appointment, click on favorite scholarships. You will see my whole curated list that I have made for you. Okay. If you just want to like kind of dig around, go to the scholarship search and you can use keywords to look up different scholarships. So for right now, I'm going to recommend that my juniors type in junior and see what comes up. So here are scholarships that are open for juniors right now. There's an art poster contest. There's an essay contest, a math challenge, a poetry slam, a video contest. Oh, this is one of my favorites. This one's actually one of my favorites. So let me show this to you. It's so funny. So the Junior Duck Stamp Art Contest. Here we go. So you'll see things like the deadline, the maximum award, right? It's $1,000. Renewable? No. So renewable means, can you get it every year, or is this a one-time award? Merit type. So merit-based. Merit-based means it's based on your art or your talent or your grades, something like that. Need-based would mean that it's also considering income. Okay. The description, draw a duck. No, really. See website. It's open to grades K through 12. So yeah, you have to draw a duck. I'm not kidding. So you click on apply online and it'll take you to the scholarships website. All right. And you will be on there. You will be able to see how you actually apply. All right. So I've gathered all these scholarships together for you. You can also type in things like art. So you can see all the ones that have to do with art. You could type in something like your ethnicity, right? Your heritage. Here's a bunch for Italians. You could type in your ethnicity. Here's a bunch for Black people. You could type in something you're interested in, like science. And here's a bunch of science ones. See? So cool. So it's fun to play with it. Again, if you need any paperwork, documents, transcripts, anything like that, you're going to go to the college office to get help with that. Okay. Not your guidance counselor. And then before you know it, you're going to be graduating, people. It's going to happen. We're going to get there. All right. It's kind of a long journey, but we will do this. All right. You're in good hands, I promise. So I hope this was a helpful presentation. I know you have a ton of questions. You're going to contact me. You're going to talk to my staff, and we will do our best to help out. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great night. I hope to talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.